Every wild animal carries a warning system inside its body, always running quietly in the background. Before the animal even has time to think, it is already measuring the situation, the speed of approach, the direction of movement, the posture, the distance, and the eyes. Most of the time, the conclusion is simple. Move away from the human before the distance becomes dangerous. This reaction is not always learned through experience. Some wild animals that have never met a human before still react as if humans are a threat, which suggests that this fear can run deeper than memory. It is connected to survival itself. So when we see an animal trapped in a net, stuck in mud, caught in a snare, or tangled in rope, we often imagine that it understands what is happening. We imagine it knows the human is there to help, but inside that animal, the experience may be completely different. The moment a wild animal realizes it cannot escape, its body enters an emergency state. Adrenaline rises, the heart beats faster, the muscles tighten, and the body is pushed toward one goal: survive. The animal may thrash, breathe fast, widen its pupils, and become rigid, almost locked, as if every muscle has received the same command: fight, escape, and do not die here. And when a human walks toward that trapped animal, the animal does not usually see a rescuer. It sees a predator approaching at the worst possible moment. The human may be carrying a knife to cut the rope, but the animal doesn't know that. Its alarm system reads proximity as the final stage of an attack, which is why many trapped animals panic even more when people get closer. It pulls, bites, kicks, twists, and fights the trap, the human, and the fear all at once. But in some rescue situations, something changes. There is a moment when the animal suddenly becomes still, not always from exhaustion, but in a way that looks different. The frantic movements slow down, the body softens slightly, and the animal begins to watch. It turns toward the human, follows the hands, studies the movement, and waits. That is the moment rescuers still struggle to fully explain. One of the most famous examples happened in December 2005 off the coast of San Francisco. A female humpback whale was found tangled in heavy rope lines wrapped around her mouth, her fins and her tail, while several heavy crab traps pulled her downward. She had to keep fighting just to keep her blowhole above the surface of the water. A rescue team arrived and divers entered the ocean carrying curved knives. One sudden movement from the whale's tail could kill a diver instantly. But when the divers reached her, the whale stopped moving. For more than an hour, she remained near the surface while they cut rope from her mouth, her fins, and her tail. At moments, she seemed to adjust her position, turning slightly or extending a fin, in ways that helped the divers reach the ropes more easily. This was not a small animal becoming calm in someone's hands. This was a massive whale, powerful enough to destroy the people around her without effort, staying still while strangers with knives moved across her body. Scientists often explain this through threat pattern recognition. A predator about to attack usually closes distance quickly, moves directly, acts with tension, watches the prey, and waits for the chance to strike. But a rescuer moves differently. The approach is slower, the movements are careful, and the hands go toward the rope instead of the animal. Instead of pressure increasing, it begins to lessen. There is no bite, no strike, no chase. The animal's brain searches for a known danger pattern. Is this an attack? Is this the final moment before harm? Sometimes the pattern does not match. The fear does not disappear. The animal is still on alert, but the expected attack never comes. So the crisis response loses its clear target, and the animal waits. A similar moment has been described with a wolf caught in a leg-hold trap in Yellowstone. At first, the wolf reacted exactly as expected. It lunged, snapped its jaws, and tried to attack every time someone came near. Then one researcher stopped. He did not rush forward, he did not make sudden movements, and he stayed still without aggression. After several minutes, the wolf stopped lunging. It sat down and kept looking at the researcher. When the team began working on the trap, the wolf watched their hands, and when the trap finally opened, it did not immediately disappear into the forest. It stood still for a moment, looked again at the human, and then walked away into the trees. Researchers do not usually call this trust. They often call it a suspension of the threat response. The animal may not understand everything that is happening, but it may recognize that the expected harm is not coming. Then comes the harder question: what happens after the animal is free? When the last rope was cut from the humpback whale, she did not simply disappear into the ocean. She swam in wide circles around the divers, then came close to them one by one, gently touching them before moving to the next. One diver described the moment as feeling like gratitude, but scientists are careful with that word. We cannot enter the mind of the whale, and we cannot say with certainty what she understood or felt. Still, humpback whales are highly social animals. They communicate, cooperate, and interact with each other in complex ways. So was that whale thanking the divers? We cannot say that with certainty, but the fact that she stayed, circled back, and made slow physical contact after being freed is not easy to dismiss as a simple survival reflex. There are also remarkable cases involving elephants. In several rescue situations, young elephants pulled from mud pits or traps have been seen touching the humans who helped them. They extend their trunks toward a hand, an arm, or a shoulder. For an elephant, the trunk is one of the most sensitive organs in the animal kingdom, used to smell, touch, explore, communicate, and recognize. When an elephant deliberately places its trunk on someone, it does not look like a random movement. It looks more like examination. We cannot claim to know exactly what the elephant understands, but elephants have powerful memories, recognize individuals, and maintain deep social bonds. In several rescue cases, freed elephants do not immediately run away. They remain near the people who help them, standing close for a moment. They do not charge, they do not flee. They simply stay, and then they leave. So do wild animals know when a human is trying to help them? The honest answer is that we do not fully know. What we do know is this: some animals can slow down or stop their defensive reaction when the human does not behave like a predator. They may watch the hands, remain still, and allow ropes to be cut, traps to be opened, or pressure to be removed. After they are free, some animals show behaviors that are difficult to explain through fear alone. A wolf looks back before disappearing into the trees. A whale circles the divers who freed her. An elephant rests its trunk against a human hand before walking away. What these gestures truly mean is still difficult to prove, but they remind us of something powerful. Even in the wild, there are moments when the expected violence does not arrive. Moments when the approach of a human does not bring harm but release. And maybe that is why these scenes stay with us, because we are not only watching an animal being saved, we are watching fear pause just long enough for help to reach it. For a brief moment, two worlds that usually avoid each other meet in silence, not in control, not in domination, but in stillness, caution, and release.